Hey guys, welcome back to the Tukes and Tires YouTube channel. As always, I'm Zach, and this week the C1 Chevelle is going to move under its own power for the first time in over 40 years. So, let's hit it.
Hey, is that Timmy's?
Yeah, because we're in Canada. Alright guys, so you already heard what we're trying to get done in today's video. Basically, I just want to get this thing to a point where I can just, fire it up and then we can get it moving around. I don't know if we're going to get like the cooling system done or anything, but basically I just want front brakes. We need to put a gas pedal into this thing and then maybe just kind of like a, temporary fuel system. Probably just going to use that little clicky-clack pump we had there when we first fired this motor up. So basically, I got some parts that I'm going to pull out that I got to do kind of the brake system and some other things. So I'm going to show you that, but got a few other little goodies here that I picked up actually on the weekend, so I thought I'd show you that. I was at a swap meet and the guy had these set of slicks, and I only paid 60 bucks for the 4 of them. So we're just going to use them for mock-up and probably just burnouts, but it's exactly the size that I wanted. I think they are, 27, 10.5, 15. So I think that's going to look pretty good on this car. It's going to lower it just a little bit more once we get our ride height set, so that's going to be pretty cool. I still have to find a set of rims to throw onto these, but we'll do that. And then my buddy over at Sixties, he was at the swap meet as well. So Shay had these expired racing harnesses. Basically, I just wanted something so that we could, set up where we're going to be able to put the seat belts and the mounts and stuff like that. So that's going to work out pretty awesome for now. If I got to buy some newer ones, if we're actually going to do some racing or something in this car, I will, but at least that will get us to a point where we can set up some seat belts. But for now, I'm going to get those brake parts and all that other stuff out so I can show you what we got going on here and what we need to do. So let's get after it. Lacey? So got all the parts laid out on the table right now. I figured I'd walk you through what make and model they're from, basically just because it's a smorgasbord of a whole bunch of vehicles coming together to make this work. So we still needed to figure out the clutch system on this car. When we put the motor and tranny into this thing, we did throw a hydraulic release bearing in there, so I needed some kind of clutch master cylinder. So this is actually from a 90s Astro van. I just really liked, how slim this all was. It had the reservoir attached right to it. It also had a threaded spot that we could put a hard line right onto it. So I really like that. I like that it was also a straight flange, because a lot of these, when you're searching them up for factory applications, they're like crooked or something like that. So hopefully we can make this work. We are going to have to modify this rod off the back there to work with our setup, but nothing we can't fix around here. We do have to figure out the gas pedal situation as well. I'm trying to use as many, parts that came with this thing as possible. So this is the gas pedal that came with this car. So I'm sure that we can make that work. Basically, if you watched the last video, you'd see we got the whole floor all kind of figured out in this thing. So I do need to fasten this thing to the center tunnel that we made. So hopefully we can do that. I think I have a game plan for that. But at my local speed shop, I just picked up this throttle cable. It was kind of a cut-to-length deal, so there's the part number for that. There's the part number for that clutch master cylinder if you're looking for that as well. So this brake master cylinder is from a 76 Corvette with standard brakes, no booster, but disc brakes all the way around, just because we're going to have discs on the front and discs on the back, so that makes it nice. Just as a factory part, I can walk in anywhere and buy that. So I still need to figure out the rod for the back, because it didn't come with one, so hopefully maybe the thing that's in there with the brakes that are on this thing, it's going to work. I do need to modify the shifter that's still in the car. I feel really bad that we're going to cut up this nice Mr. Gasket shifter, but to put this other Hurst handle onto it. But I do have a plan for that other shifter rod for another project I have planned in the future. So it's not going to go to total waste, but I still feel terrible that I'm cutting up an old vintage part. For the brake stuff for the front, we did put G20 GMC or Chevy van spindles on the front of this car. So it makes it pretty easy there to buy brakes. So this is just the big GM caliper. I'm sure it's the same as like square bodies from like, you know, somewhere in like the 1985 range. So there's the part numbers for those, just for both of them on the front, and the pads we're using, and then just the both lines to match with the calipers. So I don't know where we're gonna start with this. I think basically I'm going to come up with a pretty good game plan. I might start inside just because I'm going to get really grumpy laying underneath the dash trying to figure out the gas pedal and stuff like that. So we're going to come back to once I have some kind of plan set up, and then we'll show you what's going on. Lacey, you going to help out? Probably not. Alright, so I spent some time in the cockpit here just, you know, getting everything dialed in for the gas pedal and the shifter, so you can actually see that we got that Mr. Gasket one cut off. I feel awful that I did that, but we are going to reuse this on another project, like I said. So I just got the seat bolted in there too, just so I could feel where I was comfortable with the gas pedal. I figured you guys didn't need to see that. I just made up a simple little bracket there to hold it, but I made sure that I was comfortable at my seating position, so that's looking pretty sweet. I made up some small brackets out here. I'll show you that. So you can see that we got the spring there, and then I made up a bracket for this cable. I got a little flag on there, so when Dad's going to push the gas pedal, you'll be able to see that it goes full throttle. So there you go. Look at that. Really nice. The butterflies open up. So that's super cool. This line was actually really easy to do. I just bolted this to the car, and then I bolted the main section here. You just mark it where you got to cut it, and then all you do is just shove this end into there. So, and then this cable here, I just cut with snips, and I just, you know, pulled it out and had Dad look at where I wanted the pedal to be, and then it just tightens down with an Allen head screw in there. So that's pretty sweet with that. You know, we can make fine adjustments with that. You know, say if I want the gas pedal to be a little bit higher, but I think where it's at right now, it's pretty comfortable. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to actually move on to mounting up the master cylinder in here so I can see where the clutch slave has to go, and then we'll start making up some lines. So, you know, this engine bay, I just friggin' love the engine in this thing. Damn. So we got that old brake master off, and the new one went on basically no problems. I just robbed the fittings off of this here. Just going to clean them up and reuse them to save some money, because there's really nothing wrong with them. They did spin. So, you know, the rod worked out perfect length for that, so, you know, I can't really complain there. Where it gets kind of tricky is with this clutch master here. Basically, me and Dad messed around with the placement for that. There was some holes here that were for like old wires that came through. So we tried it in a couple different spots. This is where it seems where it's going to work out the easiest. The only thing is that the cap is going to be in between the two lines here. You can buy a different brake master for a Corvette where the lines come off the other side, but I figured this is the most common. So, you know, the only thing is what it's going to be is that the lines are going to go across that clutch master. Not the end of the world. Do I wish it maybe looked a little better? Yeah, but it is what it is. So you can see on the inside here, all we have to do is just make up a little bracket that's going to go onto the clutch rod pedal thing there, just to go to where that rod comes out of the firewall, so that shouldn't be too tricky. And then on the other side here, we just have a self-tapper on the one side, and then I just have to make up like a little sheet metal box just to kind of straighten it out. So we're going to start making up a cardboard template of that, and get it all made up and welded in there, and then we'll have both of those things bolted down for good. So let's get after it. Lacey, you driving this thing? Okay. So that plate turned out pretty awesome on the Firewall. I couldn't be happier on how it did turn out. You know, I still got to splash some paint on it, but that's a later Zach's issue. It's pretty parallel with the Brake Master. Like I said, the lines are just going to run over top of that thing, so, you know, it's not going to be too bad. We did get the clutch pedal all figured out in here. I did just have to make up this little rod, little bracketry thing that's welded on here. We did figure it all out so it doesn't rub and it's all in the right arc. So that's how much travel we have with that. So I'm hoping that's going to work out. I am going to have to do a clutch stop, but we'll figure that out once we got some juice in the system. The brake pedal is all situated, so you know that one was pretty easy. It was just bolting the master in. But what I think we're going to do now is we're going to move on to front brakes. So we're going to get this thing jacked up and get the front tires off of it, and then I'll show you what we got going on there. Alright, so we got the tire off now, and you can see these like G20 van spindles. Like I said, I'm pretty sure they're probably pretty close to like a square body 5-bolt, you know, it's 5-on-5. So it has this big GM caliper. This was all the stuff that was on the van, so obviously we got new stuff, so we're going to get this off of there. We're probably going to reuse this rotor because it doesn't look too bad. I cleaned it up a little bit. We can always get new ones, but this is what we're going to be throwing on there. Like I said, we got the new caliper here. I originally bought these brake lines. They were for a van, but they're crazy long, so they're not going to work. And I had these ones laying around. They're for a Jeep, but the Banjo fitting is exactly the same, and then also the thread size over here. So all we're going to do is we're going to kink this here just how this is, and see if we can make that work. This line, if anybody's curious, is probably about 3 inches shorter than this one. So, you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this bolted up. We're going to bend this and then see where it needs to be placed, because the sweet thing about this as well is it already has like a little mounting tab. So we'll be able to mount that on the frame somewhere to see where it works best for the arc. Yeah, we're going to put that all on and see where it works out. Lacey, you going to help out? No? Okay. Alright guys, so we got those new calipers on there, and me and Dad, we kind of figured out where the flex lines had to go, so I'm going to work you through the you know, motion both ways. So hopefully you can see this way it'd be getting tight there, it's got lots of clearance there, and then going this way it'd be stretching. So we did try with the tire, it does clear the tire and everything, so I'm pretty happy with it. So all we got to do now is run some hard lines to our metering block, and then we can see about trying to juice up these front brakes. So we're getting close here. Lacey, what's going on? So we got all the brake lines run. We've bled the brake master there. Just for the back brake, we actually have a caliper down there with a piece of wood in it, just so that the master will work. We got the clutch master all done up, so we got the line running underneath the engine. Comes here to our flex lines. We got a little secret here we're going to show you here just after. But I'm going to climb in here, show you guys how this clutch is working. Dad's going to spin the back wheel. Let me just try to get in the car first here. And then, alright, this is a lot harder with this one. Okay. Alright. Okay, so if I get my light here, let me scooch forward. So you can see right now, Dad's got the drive shaft spinning. So then down here, you can see our bleeder screw. So I'm going to push the clutch in. You can see it moving forward. I'm going to put it in a gear. So now you can kind of hear the clutch is kind of scraping. And if I let the clutch out slowly, oh, there it locked up. Dad can't spin her no more. If I push it in, it spins again. So we got a clutch. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this tunnel put back together so we can get the gas pedal in it. I got my power cables over here that I'm going to hook up to a battery. We're going to get a fuel system in this thing. And then we're going to see if this thing's going to move for the first time. And I'm thinking after 40 plus years, I kind of worked it out for like when this thing used to race and how long it sat. And it's at least 40 years that this thing hasn't moved, probably under its own power. So it's going to be pretty wicked. So here we go. Alright guys, so we got the wiring kind of figured out here. I just got my block that has like the main power starter, and I added a fuel pump little switch. I got a little clicky clack pump into just a jug in there. We've got the battery kind of in the footwell there. But here's the, surprising news. Look at the friggin' tires on this thing. So, found some rims for the tires I bought. It's looking really awesome. So, they always say, put a 6 set of wheels in your car and it'll make you want to work on it. So, this thing's looking pretty awesome. So I did have this thing running just to warm it up, just because this carburetor's a little tricky because it doesn't have a choke. So you kind of have to on and off the idle and trying to get it to go. So I'm going to pump up some fuel into the carburetor here just because I kind of ran it dry. So we'll see what happens. Alright, we'll shut her off, give her a good pump. And then we'll turn it back on once she's running. Okay, here we go. Whoa. That was a big fireball. Big, huge fireball, but she fired up and it idles pretty awesome. So I'm going to get it off the jack. You can see the wheels are spinning there. That's just in neutral, so that's just whatever. The friction disc is kind of moving everything. So let's get her on the ground and see if it's going to move for the first time in like 40 plus years. I'm pretty friggin' excited. This car is wicked. Alright guys, so you can see that we just had this thing fired up. I thought I'd give you a little walk around. I tidied up a few things. We did put this temporary rad into it, so this is just out of like a Honda Civic. It'll just be enough coolant in this thing just to circulate when we have it moving around. I do have a fan on there. I don't have it hooked up yet, but I will do that. We just literally have this thing here for just starting it and our fuel pump and stuff like that. I just kind of tucked all the wires for the ignition in this hole here. And then in the bottom, we literally just have a jug with gas in it with a clicky-clack pump. So now we're going to fire this thing up just so that we can run it longer, and then we're going to see if it's going to move. So I'm going to set you guys up on the tripod here, and I'm going to climb in there and fire it up. So here we go. Alright guys, so we're going to see if it's going to move for the first time. Basically what my goal is here is I just want to back it up and kind of drive it towards you guys. So we're going to see if it's going to do that. We did put the air cleaner on. I don't know if it's going to run any different with that. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll move some screwdrivers. And then we're going to see if this thing's going to move. All the blocks out on that side, Dad?
Yep.
Okay. There's a lot of dirt in here. Alright, so on, one pump, and then start, and then fuel pump. Call that a success, man. That thing friggin' moved, dude. That's awesome. I didn't even get any dirt in my eye. I can tell you there's a lot of rust in here, though, that fell out. Well,
it spins the wheels pretty easy.
It does, man. That's awesome. Friggin', this thing's insane, dude. I can't believe it. Like, this thing, from the story that I got, it's at least 40 years that this thing has sat, and hasn't moved under its own power. So I mean, like, today is an awesome day to actually get this thing rolling. You know, we still have a lot more work to go, but this is opening a whole bunch of doors that we can actually get this thing on the hoist, see it underneath for the first time, because I've obviously only kneeled and looked to see what it looks like. I know it's pretty decent, but it'd be super cool to see what those guys did back in the day on this thing with all those trailing arms and stuff under there. But I think what we're going to do is me and Dad are going to clean up the whole huge rust pile that's underneath this car over here, and then yeah, I think that's the plan. So you guys will just have to stick around till next time to see what we come up with next. But thank you guys so much for watching this. If you liked it, please, you know, put a comment down below. You know, really appreciate everything you guys do watching this stuff. And we will catch you next time. But as always, don't forget to salute the beaver. Dad, that's pretty freaking wicked.
And it sucked back about that much gas.
It's a thirsty little bugger.